Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Good Food Hood Dude. I'm Chef D and I'm gonna bring you some dope ass dishes. So today we're gonna be making a garlic rosemary focaccia bread, which we're gonna use to make a seared chicken sandwich with roasted veggies and a Sriracha Aioli. Let's get started. Let me introduce you guys to the ingredients. So today we're gonna be using, for the homemade focaccia bread, this is unbleached, unrefined, all-purpose flour. This is a lot better because it didn't go through the bleaching process, which incorporates chemicals into the flour to preserve it. This one is unbleached, unrefined, so it's a lot healthier. We're also gonna be using active dry yeast to make the bread. And we're gonna make a infused garlic rosemary oil to add and incorporate into the bread. It's gonna be super nice, super nice. And you see our garlic and our herbs here. So that's gonna be really nice. For our roasted veggies, we're gonna have portabella mushrooms, red onion, and roasted tomatoes. For the chicken breast, we're actually gonna cheat the system. We're gonna brine the chicken. So in order to keep it moist and tender as we're cooking it, as you know, chicken breast can overcook really quickly and get very rubbery and tough. So in order to avoid that, we're gonna brine it, and I'll show you guys how to do that. So here's our chicken breast, and this is all natural, organic chicken breast. We're gonna add some arugula to our sandwich, baby arugula. And for our aioli, we have some organic mayo, organic honey, sriracha, and fresh squeezed lemon juice. So we're gonna start by making our garlic infused rosemary oil. So let's add about a half a cup of extra virgin olive oil. I'm gonna add about, let's say a teaspoon of garlic, minced garlic, about 2 teaspoons actually. And then we'll add the same amount of herbs. This is thyme and rosemary. So about a tablespoon. And then we'll just kind of let that simmer, very low heat, and that will infuse the oil. So there's a few different kinds of yeast. There's fresh yeast, active dry yeast, and instant yeast. Today we're using active dry yeast, which we actually need to activate this. This activates best in warm water and typically sugar. In this case, we're using honey to be a little bit more healthier. So make sure you start out with warm water. Add the yeast right into it. To that, we're gonna add in a quarter teaspoon of our honey. So we'll use the rest of that honey for our Sriracha Aioli. Also, we're gonna use some of that in the brine. Okay, so let's go ahead and just give this a stir. You don't need to stir much. And set it to the side, let it begin to bloom. So our oil is now infused. We can smell all the aromatics. Right now, we're just gonna take it off the heat, let it cool down a little bit. In the meantime, we're gonna take a cup of our unbleached flour. I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of our infused garlic oil. And then we'll add in our yeast. This will create a base. So you can also do this in a standing mixer if you have like a KitchenAid. It's a lot easier, but this focaccia bread can be easily made by hand as well. We're just gonna let that rest for a couple minutes before we add in the remaining amount of our flour. All right, so our base has kind of rested for a couple minutes. Let's go ahead and add in the remaining amount of our flour. Make sure we get all of it. And also we're gonna add in about a teaspoon of salt to this as well. Okay, we wanna mix this thoroughly. As you can see, the dough is starting to form. It's becoming real tacky. That's good. You want to see that. And then just kind of use your finger to get this excess stuff out the whisk. And then we'll kind of pull this together too. We're gonna do a quick knead on this bread. Kneading is just a process of using your hand to kind of form the dough a little better. So, but before we knead, we're gonna add a little bit of flour to our cutting board and kind of lightly dust our cutting board with this flour. You don't need too much. And then actually kind of make sure both hands are covered in flour. This will help with the dough from sticking to your hands. And then we're just gonna gently take our dough and transfer it to a cutting board. So just kind of take your hands and fold in the edges as you're doing it and press down. We're gonna flip it, do the same thing, and you can see the dough is already starting to come together. If it starts to stick, you can always dip your hands back in that flour and just kind of use that to help you from it sticking to your hand. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna spray our bowl. We're gonna put our dough in it and let it proof at room temperature for about an hour or until it doubles in size. And then just gently pick up your dough, put it right in the center, and we'll cover this with plastic wrap again and let it sit out at room temperature. And then what you'll begin to notice, it'll start expanding and doubling in size. And then you'll know it's ready. So we wrapped our dough, and just to expedite this process, you can sit your dough on top of the oven, which is already preheated, and this will help it to proof much quicker. This is what it's gonna look like when it's proofed. We actually need to do a second proof, which is actually much quicker than the first. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go back to our infused garlic oil. We're just gonna put about a tablespoon and just kind of spread it out evenly. And this will help flavor the bottom of the dough and also prevent it from sticking. So we're just gonna go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and get our dough out the bowl. And then what we're gonna do is go ahead and just kind of spread it evenly, just kind of using our fingers to kind of pull it towards the edges. So what we're gonna do now, we kind of have it towards our edges. We're gonna kind of use our fingers to kind of create indentations right in the dough. Just kind of use your fingers to pat it, and then also pulling it towards the edges to kind of even out your bread. We can go ahead and add on the rest of our infused oil and just kind of spread that out evenly as well. Kind of spread that around. So we're just going to sit this here on top of the warm oven and let this proof for about 20 minutes, just so it doubles in size somewhat again, and then we'll go ahead and bake it for another 15-20 minutes. All right guys, so let's go ahead and make our brine. We have our chicken breast here, which we're gonna cut right in half. But in the meantime, let's make the brine first. So we're gonna start out with a quart of water, cold water. To that, we're gonna add in a 1/4 cup of salt and a 1/4 cup of honey. And then we're just gonna mix this really well until the salt and the honey dissolve inside the brine. Let's go ahead and cut our piece of chicken and I'll show you how to do that. So we're gonna go ahead and butterfly our chicken. So we just go ahead, and spread our chicken breast out on the cutting board. If you see there's one end that's kind of thicker and one end that's thinner, we just want to kind of press the palm of our hand right up against the chicken and kind of find the center of it, and then gently just bring our knife through it and just kind of use our knife to pull apart the chicken breast and kind of get a nice even piece. Put your chicken right in the brine. And the good thing about this brine is it can be as quick as a half an hour or even up to a couple days. You can keep it in this brine and it gives it a lot of flavor, and it'll help to lock in the moisture when you're cooking. All right, so you can see our dough has risen for the second time. It's ready to go into the oven. We're gonna pop it in the oven for about 15 to 20 minutes. We had our oven preheating at 450. So let's go ahead and pop this guy in. In the meantime, while our bread is baking, we're gonna go ahead and get our veggies ready to go. Again, we have our chicken brined. We have our bread in the oven. We're gonna go ahead and prep our roasted veggies. So again, we have portabella mushrooms. We're gonna do roasted tomatoes and red onion to roast. You guys notice we also have some sweet potatoes here. We're gonna do that almost like a sweet potato fry. We'll do some roasted sweet potatoes on the side of our sandwich. So that'd be really good. So let's go ahead and get started on prepping our veggies. So for the portabella cap, if you notice, it has this kind of inside. You just want to take your spoon and kind of clean that out gently, so you know, as to not break the portabella. Now you have your portabella cap, and you're just going to take it and kind of do some nice about a 1/2 inch slice on your portabella cap, and they'll go right into our bowl. Just set that to the side, and then we can jump right into prepping our tomato. Our tomato, we're just going to take our edges off, and we'll do like slices of tomato. So, you know, something along the lines of that. Again, this is for a sandwich, so you want some nice kind of thick slices. We'll put those right into the bowl as well. We have our olive oil. We have some salt and pepper. Very basic, guys. We don't need a lot of like different flavorings for this. So we'll bring our roasting pan here and just kind of lay our tomatoes, our onions down. So let's just rinse off the sweet potato. Get some of that, you know, if there's dirt on it, just get that excess, but it's good to eat the skin. You don't have to peel these. All right, so now we're just gonna kind of take the ends off and then cut them right down the middle. And it's almost like a sweet potato fry, right? So we want wedges. So we're gonna cut some wedges out of our sweet potatoes to get something like that. And then we'll do the same thing. You wanna get a uniform cut, right? So your wedges look pretty much all the same. So let's go ahead and season our sweet potatoes. We're gonna hit it with a little bit of olive oil. Again, very simple, salt and pepper, right? Bring out the natural sweetness, some cinnamon to these sweet potatoes. Incorporate it and evenly distribute it throughout. And then from there, we'll just go ahead and throw these right onto our pan. All right, guys, so our bread is about halfway cooked. So just to cut down some of this time, we're gonna go ahead and start cooking our veggies. So let's get our veggies in the oven, our roasted sweet potatoes, and our roasted assorted veggies. And for this sandwich, you don't have to use the veggies I use. You can use any kind of veggies you like. If you like zucchini, anything like that along those lines will go good on this sandwich. So just keep that in mind. All right, so let's go ahead and make our Sriracha Aioli. So again, for this, we have a bit of about a 1/4 cup of organic mayonnaise. I'm gonna add that right into the bowl. We have about a tablespoon of the organic honey. That's perfect. We have about, let's say, a tablespoon of the sriracha, and then a teaspoon of the lemon juice. So we're just gonna kind of mix those things together. So that's kind of what you're looking for to be able to spread on top of our sandwich. And we'll just put that to the side for now. So that's ready to go. So we have here the chicken that we had brining overnight. Again, you can use the chicken in the brine anywhere from up to a half an hour all the way up to a couple days. So this one I brined overnight. So we're gonna go ahead and pull this out the brine and get it ready to be seared. So let me go ahead and get my gloves on. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna rinse this chicken off. And just kind of lay it across your paper towel. We're gonna take another one and just kind of soak up some of that excess moisture. And from this point, we can go ahead and season it. We're just gonna hit it with a little bit of salt and pepper. Again, seasoning only the top side that we're gonna sear. So we have our saute pan nice and hot. We're gonna add in our olive oil and get ready to sear this chicken off. Olive oil is nice and hot, it's moving around. The hotter the better, obviously, because the chicken, we don't want that sticking to the bottom of the pan. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring my pan to me and just kind of gently add in my chicken. As you can see, it's not sticking to the bottom of the pan. That's good. Now we'll just hit it with a little bit more salt and pepper. Just making sure it doesn't stick. Let's go ahead and flip that chicken breast over. We got a nice sear on that. All right, so our bread is nice and golden brown. It's, you know, you can feel it. It's nice and hard on the outside and flaky in the inside. So what we're gonna do is just allow this bread to cool. We're gonna try to get under it and just turn it kind of sideways so that it can begin to cool from the pan. We have a nice sear on both sides of the chicken. Just to ensure this chicken is cooked fully through, we're gonna pop it in the oven to finish it for about maybe 5 minutes, making sure it's cooked all the way through. Let's go ahead and pull our chicken out. It should be nice and cooked thoroughly. Looks awesome. We'll give our sweet potatoes a couple more minutes, but we'll pull out our roasted veggies, which look amazing. So to begin building our sandwich, we're gonna go ahead and transfer our bread over to the cutting board. And the best serrated knife you have, just, you know, use that. You see it dips in some ends, so we wanna use kind of the thickest end to be able to build our sandwich. So check that out. Nice airy in the middle. It's crispy on the outside, nice and golden brown. And then we're just gonna cut it down the center so that we can use as like the top and bottom of our sandwich. To that, we're gonna add, again, the Sriracha Aioli. We'll add that on the top and the bottom. Let's go ahead and grab our chicken. We'll go ahead and place that right on the center. And then we have our roasted veggies. And from that, we're gonna top it with some baby arugula. And then we'll just put the top of our sandwich back on. And then what we're gonna do is just cut this right down the middle. And then from there, we can begin plating. Before we do, let's pull out our sweet potatoes. Check those guys out. Smell delicious. So let's go ahead and put that right on the side of the plate. And then from there, we'll just pull off our roasted sweet potato. Just kind of stack those. Make a nice little design. And there you have it, another dope ass dish. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Good Food Hood Dude. Do me a favor, like, subscribe, comment, let me know what you think about the episode, and we'll see you next time.